The very first step in this quick and easy wreath is to paint a basic wood pumpkin that you get from Target, and you can also cut off the little string. The next thing you're going to do is just cut the vinyl for one of the words that I have attached to my blog post. Then you're going to weed it, and I will go ahead and speed it up now so you don't have to watch me weed. Once you've done that, take a piece of transfer tape and you are going to transfer the phrase to the pumpkin. Make sure that your pumpkin is really nice and dry if you do paint it, because otherwise you could possibly rip off the paint when you go to remove the transfer tape. Now I'm just going to attach my pumpkin to my wreath. You just need a little bit of hot glue. And then make sure to press your pumpkin down once you hot glue it so that way it is secure to the pumpkin, and just give it a second. And then you're good to go. And now we'll go ahead and move on to the bow that I'm going to put over top of the hole. So when I cut off the little pieces of twine from the Target pumpkins, they're always left with a hole, and you can totally leave it, it's totally fine. I like to just take a little piece of twine and tie a little bow tie, and then I'm going to hot glue it over top of the hole. It just covers it up and it adds a cute little detail. So I'm just going to take the hot glue and put a little bit of it onto my bow, and I'm going to push it on and just hold it down just like you did with the pumpkin, just until the glue dries and it's nice and secure. You could also probably use a different type of glue, some sort of craft glue, but I like hot glue because it's really quick and easy. The next step is going to be to make the hanger for the back of our wreath. I'm just going to use the ribbon that I'm going to use to make my bow afterwards. All you're going to do is just create a small loop. Make sure it looks like it will easily be able to go over top of whatever hook you have for your door. And you're just going to go ahead and cut off a little piece. Then I will take some hot glue and I'm going to attach it. Now normally I'd make sure that my ends are perfect, but in this case it really doesn't matter. And actually I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. The knot just really opens up my loop, which I feel like it just makes it a little bit easier to hang later. So again, this is a super easy wreath, so all we're going to do is use hot glue like we've done with everything else. Put a little bit of hot glue on, push down your ribbon, and you're just going to hold it there until it sets. Just be careful not to burn yourself. Now we're going to work on making the bow that is going to go at the top. You can use any type of ribbon to do this. I found one that to me felt a little bit like Halloween because of the black and the white, but I liked the farmhouse feel to it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut two longer pieces. I did mine about 18 inches, but really depends how big of a bow you'd like. And this is a really simple bow. You can make a bigger, fancier bow, but for me, I just want to do something quick and easy. So I have two 18-inch pieces. I'm going to do one that's about 15 inches in length, and then I will do another one, a fourth one that'll be about 4 inches. Sometimes I go a little bit longer, more like 5 when I'm doing it, but for this I'll just go ahead and do 4 because this ribbon is pretty easy to work with. Now that I have my ribbon cut, I'm going to go ahead and use my hot glue like I've been doing. We're just going to make some really simple loops, and I'll go ahead and take my longest one first at 18 inches, and I will make a little loop with it, and I'll hot glue one end to the other. This is going to be the back of my ribbon, the very big back piece. I will say that this ribbon is not as wide as I tend to like to use for bows, so if you have a wider ribbon, that would be much better. It will make a nice bigger bow, but in the end, I think that this worked out pretty well. So I have my 18-inch one. Now I'm going to take my 15-inch one, and I will also do the same thing. This is going to be a double layer bow, so this will be the part that sits on the back loop. Go ahead again and just do a little bit of hot glue. Stick it together until it cools, and it'll be nice and dry and easy to work with. And then after I do this, I will go ahead and show you Now that it's dry enough, I will go ahead and layer my two bows. Make sure, of course, that you put the bigger bow in the very back and then the smaller loop in the front. So all I'm going to do is use my hot glue again. I'm going to place it in the very center of my loop, making sure that the back where the pieces come together are at the very back for both pieces so that way they don't show. And then I'll go ahead and just push down and hold, just like we've done before, and wait until it's completely cool, and then it'll be dry and easy to work with. Once that's cooled down, we're going to move on to our next step, which is a two-part process. We're going to be using the 4-inch piece, which is going to create that little centerpiece of the bow. It's going to connect the two together. But before we glue that on, what we're going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of prep it so it's ready to go around, and I'm going to flip my bow over onto the front. Then I'm going to take the other long piece, which is going to become our tail, and I'm going to stick it in the side of the loop. That way, before I glue on my centerpiece, by putting the tail in there, it's going to hook it in and it's all going to hang in there nicely. It just takes a second to make sure you've got everything kind of even, and make sure, of course, that you have the ribbon facing the right direction, which in this case I didn't. I had to flip it. So go ahead and you're going to stick that in the center, and then you are going to bring up the 4-inch piece in the center, and I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it around and then add some glue on the very back, and this will create my centerpiece and also attach my tail at the same time. Now that I wrap my 4-inch piece around a few times, I'm going to go ahead and take my hot glue. If you have to trim your piece, your 4-inch piece or whatever length you decided to use a little bit, that's okay. Go ahead and just trim it. It's no big deal. You can trim it either before or after. And when I glue it, I like to try to kind of scrunch it up, almost like a little bit of a trifold. It just gives the front of the ribbon a nicer look, but you can leave it completely flat also. It really doesn't matter. The next step is you're going to kind of just, you know how you like kind of fluff the bow. So I'm going to go ahead and fluff the bow a little bit. And then while it's still warm, you can kind of adjust and adjust the bow a little bit if you need to. Then I will go ahead and make sure that it looks like my tails are about the same length. And then I'm going to cut my triangle shape. You know how you make just the two little points on the bow's end? So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both of mine. Make sure you use a pair of really good scissors. If you couldn't tell, I actually had to change scissors in the middle of this because I did not have my fabric scissors. So go ahead and you're just going to take it and cut a little triangle, which will make your cute little tail. I'm going to make sure mine are approximately the same length. And go ahead and cut this side too. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and glue my bow onto the very front of my wreath. So just like with everything else, we're going to grab the hot glue and make it nice and easy. So we'll take this and make sure it is lined up with the hanger in the back. You don't want it to be like super off, so it's gonna the bow is not gonna be hanging in the very top center. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of hot glue on, then push it on like we've done with everything else until it completely cools. And then that's it. You're gonna have a super easy and quick, very inexpensive wreath ready for your Halloween decor.